All right, hello people. Welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. A show with zero qualifications, zero credentials, and I'd say literally zero energy left right now. I mean, I am running on fumes. Maybe the longest, busiest day of work I have had since I started this job, quite frankly. Boys and girls, I am tired. I'm tired. I still got to stay up for a football game, then wake up early to go in and do an order tomorrow. Whew. Man, I'm gonna earn this two straight off days at the end of the week, man. I'll tell you what. But got some college football to talk about here. Tuesdays, you know what time it is. It's time to recap the week that was in college football. And boy, oh boy, the chaos exploded like a volcano. It had been percolating for weeks and weeks. You got an upset here, you got an upset there. All of a sudden this week, just mass pandemonium. Not quite the mass pandemonium that, like, '07 harkens back to, or, any one of those, like, super crazy types of years. But, man, I mean, we still got time for that, man. November is just starting, and that's what it's time for the season to actually start, man. I mean, we've gotten all the way up until this point. I mean, a lot of these teams at Michigan especially, I mean, cheating scandal aside, Connor Stalions fell on his sword, by the way. Perfect fall guy, did exactly what he was supposed to do. Would love to see that severance package because I am guessing it is massive, absolutely gigantic. But that's besides the point. A lot of those teams like Michigan, not even really going to see what they are, not even going to really make their resumes until this month. And boy, oh boy, we had some fumbles, we had some successes. We'll get into all of it today in just a moment after I get some coffee here. Be right back in just a second with week 10 of college football. And I've got coffee today. That's how you know I'm running on fumes right now. Boys and girls, this is going to be a long night, a long day tomorrow, and probably a long day afterwards until I can get a day off and cry myself to sleep. Until then, though, we're trucking on, and let's talk about the biggest upset of the day, I would say, which really wasn't the biggest upset. I think it's probably something that a lot of people saw coming at the beginning of the day, including your boy who made some money off of it. The Bedlam game, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. And after starting the year 7-0, after looking like they could make the college football playoff, after looking like a shoo-in for the Big 12 championship, Oklahoma goes into Oklahoma State in the final chapter for the foreseeable future of Bedlam and loses to their in-state rival 27-24. A little bit of a controversial no call there with Oklahoma State just blatantly getting away with the pass interference. You're going to get those hometown calls, those in college. That's just kind of the way this thing goes, quite frankly. But Ollie Gordon didn't quite have the big-time days that we were used to him seeing thus far. 33 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, though. That's more than good enough to get them the win, and that he did. Oklahoma State, the students stormed the field. They are right in the thick of things for the Big 12 race right now. They're 5-1. Kind of got the inside track right now to get to the Big 12 title, and if you would have told me after losing to Iowa State and getting just run off the field by South Alabama to start the year, that this team was still going to be in the Big 12 title, I would have laughed in your face. This is the beauty of college football, man. You don't get this same sort of thing in the NFL. In college football, you can have a team just be god-awful in September and October, in the beginning of October, and next thing you know, come November, they're one of the best teams in their respective conference. Week to week, you don't see quite the progression in the NFL that you get in college every single week. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and no one has exemplified that more this year than Oklahoma State. I mean, credit to Mike Gundy. This is probably his best coaching job, bar none, I would say, with everyone that left this offseason. I mean, he lost, 2-3-year starter in Spencer Sanders at quarterback. Lost, like, your entire starting defense, pretty much, most of your starting offense. And what do? All Mike Gundy does is come back, have the leading rusher in the nation on his team, and they're 7-2, 5-1 in the Big 12 with an inside track to get to the Big 12 championship. I mean, hats off to him. Again, this is, one of the best coaching jobs in the nation. I feel like Mike Gundy should be coach of the year at this point with what he has done at Oklahoma State. It's nothing short of incredible. It's not like he's doing it with great quarterback play either. No, he is riding Ollie Gordon as far as Ollie Gordon can take them this season right now, and it's working out really well. Will it work out against Texas? Texas has looked fallible over the last several weeks, so we'll have to wait and see there. But you got to love what you're seeing from Oklahoma State right now. And to kick your in-state rival right out of the conference, kick them right in the ass on the way out the door, boy, this has got to feel extra sweet for the Cowboys over there at Oklahoma State. And I love it. Absolutely love it. That was probably the biggest upset of the day. And Oklahoma, after all that hullabaloo, all of that, those hopes, the promising start to the season at 7-0, the Big 12 title hopes, not quite in sight right now, and the college football playoff is absolutely dead. There's no way they're going to make it to the college football playoff at this point. Even if they win the conference championship, a two-loss Big 12 championship will not be making the playoffs. I assure you of that right now. All Oklahoma can do is keep the Big 12 out of the playoffs if they keep on winning, which, hey, more power to them if they do end up doing it. That would, again, they could turn this thing around down towards the backstretch of the season, make no mistake about it. But, yeah, their playoff hopes are absolutely shattered right now. That being said, let's not move the goalpost here on what Oklahoma was coming into the season. I mean, they went, 6-6, 5-7 last year, whatever it was. Defense, absolutely terrible. Offense, still very good, but defense leaving a lot to be desired. I mean, their defense is much better this year. They've got the athletes over there they've not had in a long, long time, especially going to the SEC. They're trending in the right direction right now. And even with a little bit of a disappointing stretch here over the last couple games, probably going to end up with a 10-win season when it's all said and done. Still, you got to be really impressed with the direction that Brent Venables is taking the team right now. Oklahoma fans are insane, so they'll be calling for his job and whatnot. Make no mistake about it. But make no mistake about it. This Oklahoma team is right on track to be right back to where they were, maybe even better than when Lincoln Riley was there. I still believe in Brent Venables. He's got a good recruiting pipeline coming on, really utilizing the portal very well too. So setback here, just a year early to the party for them to be in contention. Going to be a tough road to hoe in the SEC, though. It's a different animal. I mean, the Big 12 is tough. It is balanced across the way. It ain't nothing like the top half of the SEC, man, and they're going to be facing every single bit of it next year. Hey, welcome to the big leagues, boys. It's going to be fun to welcome you in. More than likely, Oklahoma's going to welcome us in, though. I mean, Mississippi State stinks. We'll get to that here at the end. Not much more to say that I haven't already said, but worth reiterating when we get to that point. We move on from there, though. Let's just go back up to the top to do this thing proper. Ohio State beat Rutgers 35-16. Kyle McCord had 3 touchdowns, but still hasn't looked great. Didn't throw for 200 yards in this game. Travion Henderson, 5 receptions for 80 yards, so that'll tell you where Kyle McCord is looking. But yeah, Ohio State still kind of dominated this game. They're 9-0. They're not the number 1 team in the initial college football playoff ranking. I would imagine they're going to be the number 1 team come Tuesday as well. We'll touch on that on Thursday's episode whenever we get back together with each other. But we move on from there. Not much to see there. Good win for Ohio State. Still have, several more quality wins than what Michigan has right now. It's the reason Michigan's all the way down at number 3. Georgia hosted number 12 Missouri. That is 2 hosting 12 in the first college football playoff rankings. And you know what? Missouri acquitted themselves well in this one. Carson Beck didn't throw an interception. It ended up being a costly fumble, I believe, by I don't know if it was Luther Burden or who it was on Missouri. I think it was a fumble. It was a turnover that really led to Georgia pulling away at the end there. And, hey, Carson Beck, well, actually, I think I was looking at Carson Beck there, unfortunately. Yeah, Brady Cook, 2 interceptions in this one. Sorry about it. The interception was probably what set Georgia up at the end there. I was, off and on with this game. I was at work, so sue me, I suppose. Don't actually. You got no case anyways, so you're just wasting both of our monies. Let's move on there. Carson Beck, though, really hasn't had a bad game this year. He just kind of worked himself into shape, and it's to a point now late in the season, getting into November, that he's becoming more the reason they win rather than the reason that they might lose a game. He is really playing very, very well. Ladd McConkey kind of was the one to step up in the absence of Brock Bowers in this one. He had 7 receptions for 95 yards. Dejan Edwards ended up with 77 yards on the ground as well. Kendall Milton ran for a touchdown, a little under 5 yards per carry. Carson Beck, like I said, didn't turn the ball over. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 21 of 32 on the day. I mean, Georgia's offense just looking really, really good, and that defense, what more is there to say? I mean, Luther Burden was held to 3 receptions, 53 yards. Did get that touchdown, but I'll tell you what, 3 receptions, 53 yards for probably the best receiver in the SEC. I mean, no mean feat there. I mean, Georgia did a hell of a job on Luther Burden, did a hell of a job with Brady Cook on the other side. And hey, Missouri, they did acquit themselves well. They kept this thing close, especially in a hostile environment. Lesser teams have gotten run out of the building in that situation. Missouri hung in there. They've got a hell of a coaching staff, a hell of a team, quite frankly. They're just not quite talent-wise on the level of a Georgia or an Alabama. So Georgia doesn't cover, but gets the win by 9 points. To me, still the best team in the nation right now. I think their offense is playing better than Ohio State, and their defense, maybe not as good as those last 2 national championship teams, but not too far behind it right now. They are playing very, very well down the stretch of the year, and just because they don't have those stud names that they have had the last couple years on their defense does not mean those guys won't make a name for themselves if and when they get to the college football playoff. I thought at one point that Georgia was going to drop a game down the stretch. I now do not believe that. Unless they get to the SEC championship game and drop one to Alabama, who's playing, I mean, seems like they get literally better every single week, just progressively getting more and more just juggernaut-ish to look at. Unless they lose in the SEC championship, I don't see them losing before that point. I think Georgia is the clear number 1 team in the country right now, and we may be hurtling towards another 2 SEC team playoff. Was that awkward to say? Probably, but either way, we move on from there. Impressive win by Georgia. Not a bad loss by Missouri, though. I don't think they dropped much in these upcoming rankings by the committee. Get a quick sip of coffee here. And we keep it moving down the list. Michigan played 2-7 Purdue, beat them 41-13. Nothing to see here. J.J. McCarthy had 335 yards. Good for him. Call me whenever they play a team, which happens to be this coming week when they go to State College, PA, Happy Valley, if you will, to take on Penn State. That is going to be a dandy of a matchup, but we'll get to that towards the end of this episode. We're going to really, really see what Michigan is after this coming week. I cannot wait. It's going to be, I mean, this was a very good week of college football this past week. The next week is going to be just as, if not even more loaded. I am looking forward to it. Every single ounce of me is looking forward to watching next weekend. But one thing at a time. Pittsburgh hosting Florida State. Florida State didn't run away with this one. Pat Narduzzi kind of made it into a slot fest, but Florida State just pulled away eventually. Pitt can't score worth a damn, especially not on that vaunted Florida State defense. 24-7 was the final. Florida State gets the win there. They'll probably stand pat at number 4 if I had to guess. Might be some jockeying in the top 3 this week, but mostly just the top 2. I'll be interested to see if Georgia jumps Ohio State after that big win over Missouri. I would say the top 4, as they stand, no one lost and no one looked particularly unimpressive. So probably going to stand pat there with the top 4. Washington, in the biggest shootout of the week, the biggest shootout that everyone saw coming, your boy made the over an official pick. And the over hit, and by the way, the over was 75.5, which is absolutely ridiculous. That hit in the third quarter with like 4 minutes to spare. The final score ended up being Washington. A defensive play ultimately got the job done, ended up helping them pull away by, 10 points. They get the win 52-42. Dillon Johnson, former Mississippi State Bulldog, I don't think he had rushed for 100 yards the entire season. He gets, get this, 256 yards, 4 touchdowns, all on the ground. A career day against USC in the Coliseum. Could not be happier for that guy. I'm no hard feelings whatsoever. I'm not even joking about that. He got out at a great time for Mississippi State. Mississippi State is an absolute shit show this year. Washington is a bona fide contender, and he's really the reason why Washington won this game. Shout out to Dillon Johnson. I'd love to see him succeeding at a place that will utilize him properly. I don't think he might not have had 256 rushing yards in the entirety of his time with Mike Leach at Mississippi State. What a performance from Dillon Johnson in this game. Caleb Williams didn't do bad, though. I mean, 312, 3 touchdowns. I think he had a couple rushing touchdowns as well, unless I'm mistaken. Get a quick look at that. Had 1 rushing touchdown. Sorry about that. Not a couple. Ultimately, the defense let him down. Once again, you got to be asking yourself, what more does Alex Grinch have to do to get fired? The answer was nothing. It came down, I believe, on Sunday while I was at work. USC has fired Alex Grinch. They will be moving in a different direction. Finally, at long last, this was the straw that broke the camel's back when it came to Lincoln Riley's bro love affair with Alex Grinch. Maybe not a bro love affair. Maybe just a regular love affair. We still have not ascertained that just yet. Maybe there was a tearful goodbye and a passionate kiss on the way out the door. We have no idea. More power to him if that is the case. But fact of the matter is, finally, Alex Grinch has left USC. Does that mean Lincoln Riley will be around to replace Alex Grinch as the, not replace him as the next DC, replace the next DC. You know what I'm saying. My brain is just absolute mush right now, but it's a step in the right direction. This is something we all knew had to happen. Hell, we've known it had to happen for probably the better part of 4 years that Alex Grinch was not the answer for Lincoln Riley at DC. Going all the way back to Oklahoma, we knew it last year. We knew it this year. Finally, it just became too much. He is now out of the building. And interested to see where USC goes from here, though. You can't help but feel like they squandered a chance, though, this year with having the consensus #1 overall pick in the building at quarterback, just loaded offensive weapons. And it's not like they have bad defensive talent on the other side. They just have not been serious about playing defense in the past. And if they had been serious, if they had utilized the talent they had on the other side, they could very well be in the playoff hunt this year, but as it is, they get 3 losses now against teams with superior offense. It's not like Washington has a much better defense, but they were just good enough in this game to get the job done and really ultimately get them the win, quite frankly. And that's just something that USC has never had under Alex Grinch. Hopefully Lincoln Riley sticks around to kind of continue rebuilding that side of the ball. Maybe he gets a little bit more serious about that side of the ball. But again, no guarantee. It seems like there is some big-time rumblings about him maybe going to the NFL, maybe quite possibly following Caleb Williams to wherever he goes in the NFL draft. Be that Chicago or Arizona. They've been known to fire head coaches after one bad year and then hire some good-looking dude out of USC. Would not be the first time. May not even be the last. This is what bad organizations do. They just jump at the newest shiny thing, but I digress. That's all to say, there's no guarantee that Lincoln Riley will be with the USC Trojans after this year, but if he is, I think this is a step in the right direction. I think overall, if he does stick around after this year, the program will be better for it, so long as they emphasize defense more, they get more serious about playing good defense on the other side of things. The offense has never been the issue. If they can just get the defense together, they could be a perennial contender every single year. Will they do it? who's to say, but this is at least a step in the right direction, no longer having the Grinch that stole defense in your team room anymore. Great win for Washington, though. Still looking very shaky. That defense is going to sink them if they do get to the playoffs, and I think it'll likely sink them in the Pac-12 championship. I maintain that Oregon has looked like the better team since they met each other and Washington won a couple weeks ago. That round 2 is looming in the distance, and Oregon is looking like a juggernaut right now. Looks like the best defense in the Pac-12 with one of the best quarterbacks in the Pac-12 with Bo Nix right now. Possible Heisman contender right now, Bo Nix. Maybe Heisman frontrunner after what he's done throughout the course of this season. These two teams are on a collision course. Oregon's going to get a rebuttal at the end of this thing, and right now I am leaning heavily towards Oregon getting that job done in the Pac-12 championship. Both of them got to take care of business to get there, but boy, that round 2 is going to be an absolute dandy. Cannot wait to see how that one turns out. We keep it moving from there. Speaking of Oregon, they beat Cal 63-19. Bo Nix, like I said, 4 touchdowns passing. I think he had a few more rushing. Yeah, he had 6 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 4 through the air. What are his season stats right now? Let's get a quick stats look at this thing at the moment. So, yeah, this season he has got 25 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, somehow even more efficient than what he was last season, and he was very efficient last season. He's got a better yards per attempt average. He's going to end up with more passing touchdowns at the end of the year. He's already at 25. He had 29 all of last season. To me, with the way his team is playing, that's your Heisman frontrunner right now. Bo Nix is playing out of his mind. If Jaden Daniels was on a little bit better team, a team that had won a few more games, I would probably have him as the number 1 Heisman guy, but Bo Nix is playing so well right now. I mean, completing 78% of his passes this year, 9 yards per attempt, 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That is just Looney Tunes numbers, man. It's absolutely insane numbers for Bo Nix this year. You're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone that has a better Heisman resume when it's all said and done, especially if they go on to win the Pac-12 championship than Bo Nix. He's my inside track right now. I love what I'm seeing from him. Would also love for him to be a Minnesota Viking down the line, but we'll get to that when we cross that bridge. As of right now, didn't learn a whole lot about Oregon other than they are an absolute juggernaut on a collision course with the Washington Huskies once again. We keep it moving from here. Texas hosted Kansas State. Malik Murphy in his second game starting for the Texas Longhorns, and they escaped with 1 man. They started out like 17-0 to start this game. Then lo and behold, Kansas State came roaring back. Will Howard, 4 touchdowns on the day through the air, 327 overall passing. A guy that we thought might end up losing his job to Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson was basically a non-factor in this one. Will Howard just took the job by the balls over the last couple games, it looks like, and he has been playing out of his mind. Malik Murphy leaving a lot to be desired on the other side of the field. Texas ends up winning this thing 33-30 because instead of trying to force a second overtime, Chris Kleiman decides, fuck it, we're going to go for it. We got nothing to lose here. Let's just try and win this thing right now. I think it was like 4th and goal at the 1. They don't get it. Texas survives 33-30. A wild finish in this one, and not the most impressive win, but a win is a win, and it is more than what Oklahoma did over the course of this weekend. Texas now has the inside track to win the Big 12. I don't think they climb the rankings after this week because, to me, it seems like there's a pretty clear top 6 and then everyone else right now. I don't think after 6 there's a pretty precipitous drop off to 7 to get to Texas right now. And after that, again, the 12-team playoff is a mistake, but people will figure that out on their own time. Should have just been 6, but I digress on that front once again. Good win from Tech. I mean, not a good. A win is a win at this point, so that's really all you're looking for there. Kansas State, though, still a very dangerous team. A team that could still piss in some wholesale Cheerios down the stretch here. They still play Kansas at Kansas. That should be a dandy of a game, and they play Iowa State. They got Baylor next week, which you can't overlook them. They are still feisty at times, but a game that you would expect to win. Baylor is bottom 3 in the conference right now. They're 2-4 in Big 12 play and 3-6 overall, so you should win that game. But nothing is a given in this conference, especially with how wild it seems to be on a week-in, week-out basis. Kansas State still has a chance to go out there and kill some dreams, especially Kansas. Iowa State kind of killed their own dreams this week. Well, I guess Kansas kind of killed Iowa State's dreams. But again, I digress on that front. Right now, it seems like Texas, Oklahoma State have the inside tracks to make it to the Big 12 title. Oklahoma State has the favorable matchups down the stretch to get there, and Texas has kind of gotten through the meat of their schedule. Oklahoma just sitting on the outside, looking in, hoping that either Oklahoma State, even if Oklahoma State loses, they got the tiebreaker, so wouldn't matter there. You're hoping Oklahoma State drops 2 games now, hoping Kansas drops another one. Again, looks like Oklahoma's dreams of a Big 12 championship and a playoff berth are done. Texas just stays alive, though. Malik Murphy has not looked good in his audition for the transfer portal. It certainly has not gone well so far. It has not gone well, to say the least. Didn't get sacked in this one, so credit to the Texas offensive line, but 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, under 7 yards per attempt. Just a hair over 50% completion. Just not a good performance, and he didn't have a good performance last week. It's looking pretty clear that the decision was going to be Arch Manning no matter what, pretty much anyways, next season, and I think that decision has just gotten a whole lot easier with how Malik Murphy has played so far. Still got some games to play, but right now, you have just got to grit and hope that Quinn Ewers gets back as fast as possible if you are a Texas fan right now. That's basically your only hope of looking good going into the postseason. I think he should be back by championship season and bowl season, but boy, you just got to grit through it and bear and hope that you just get through this regular season unscathed right now. They've got TCU and Iowa State on the road in back-to-back weeks, and they finish off with Texas Tech. That's a tough road. I mean, TCU, not the toughest team in the world this year, but Iowa State, never underestimate the power of Ames, Iowa. Of electric atmosphere on the road, and especially with Malik Murphy not playing well. You're gonna want Quinn Ewers back as quickly as possible. Reportedly day to day now with that shoulder injury, so definitely trending in the right direction. Hopefully he gets back for either Iowa State or TCU. But again, you hope to God he gets back as soon as possible, because without him in there, they have looked fallible to say the least. With that said, though, we keep it moving after I get another sip of this just beautiful coffee cup. That was a gulp, folks. That was a gulp right there. Let's go to the SEC, where, like I said before, Bama seems to be playing its best football every successive week, and this week was no different. They beat LSU at home 42-28. Dallas Turner kind of got away with a targeting penalty a little bit, just rammed his head into Jaden Daniels and then thrust his head with Jaden Daniels between his head in the ground through the crust of the earth. Not surprisingly, he knocked Jaden Daniels out with concussion, and which it's a big old shame because Daniels was playing just spectacular as per usual, and against the best defense he's played all year. I mean, he had 219, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 163 on the ground, and 1 touchdown as well. And that was basically in 3 quarters of work. He was spectacular in this game. Fantastic. And that's pretty much the reason why they didn't score a point in the 4th quarter, because, I mean, like it or not, Nussmeier is just simply not Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has been electric this year, and I think pretty much maybe not a shoe-in, but for my money, he's a first-round pick in this year's draft, one of many in this upcoming draft. It's a loaded draft for QBs. Jaden Daniels is shades of Lamar Jackson right now. He is playing that well. He's electric running the ball. He's probably an even better passer than Lamar Jackson was in college right now. Just a fantastic college quarterback, but ultimately the defense let them down. They gave up 42 to Alabama, and that was that. Malik Neighbors, by the way, 171 receiving yards. Just a beast. Absolute beast. One of the best receivers in this draft. Gets looked over because of what Marvin Harrison Jr. is, but Malik Neighbors, don't sleep on that guy. He's going to make some team very, very good next year in the NFL, if I had to guess. Well, is he even eligible to go to the NFL? Yeah, he's a junior. He's going after this year. He's a shoo-in first-round pick. I think he still leads the nation in receiving yards right now. So, yeah, he's a lock first-round pick. Maybe even a top 10 pick when it's all said and done. It's going to be crowded with quarterbacks, but between Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brock Bowers, there are going to be some skill position players that go in that top 10 as well. Rest assured, my friends. But let's give kudos to the people that actually won. Alabama did what they needed to do to just, get just enough of a cushion to win this game. Obviously, Dallas Turner hit aside. They played as good as you can possibly play against one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the entire country in Jaden Daniels. And Jalen Milroe, get this stat line. I mean, 219 through the air, 15 of 23, 9.5 yards per attempt. Didn't throw a touchdown, but didn't throw an interception either. And you know what? You can do that when you run for 155 yards, 7.8 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Alabama as a team got all 6 of their touchdowns on the ground, 288 on the ground as a team, 6.3 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns as a team. That is utter dominance, and I get it, they're playing against LSU, who's not a very good defense, but it just seems like every single week, I mean, Alabama, regardless of the defense, I mean, against South Florida, they were terrible. They were not doing this against teams early in the season, and it seems like they add a new tool every single week. Jalen Milroe is starting to play like flawless football right now. I mean, not quite flawless. He absolutely missed a touchdown throwing in this game that I remember watching. But ultimately, when you get 4 touchdowns on the ground and 155 yards, doesn't matter if you miss a couple throws here and there. And I assume he'll, dial that in as the season goes on. He has played better and better every single week. This entire team has followed suit on that front. Caleb Downs, remember the name, true freshman, I believe, Caleb Downs, unless I'm mistaken. Yup, he is a freshman, and he has still got 2 more years of eligibility after this. He led the team in tackles with 13. That's a name to remember, by the way. Caleb Downs, one of the many players in this star-studded recruiting class that just came in. He's just a top-line guy. Alabama's going to be right there every single year because of the way that Nick Saban recruits. No two ways about it. But this year in particular, see what they got left on the schedule. I think they may have Ole Miss this week. Or no, they already played Ole Miss and they beat them 24-10. But they're at Kentucky and then Chattanooga and Auburn to end the year. They should win out the next 3 games, end the season at 11-1. With an SEC title game berth against probably Georgia, most likely Georgia at this point. And, I mean, obviously they're going to have to win that game to go to the college football playoff. I mean, that's pretty clear to see at this point. But with the way they're playing, I would not be shocked at all if they win. And if they win, they will be in the college football playoff. So will Georgia, and it'll be another 2 SEC team college football playoff. I'm looking forward to that. The defense has played well all year, but the offense has just gotten better and better and better. Tommy Rees is now really kind of calling a game molded around Jalen Milroe's skill set, which was not always the case to start the year. The offensive line that was built so well to start this season is starting to turn it on, and they're starting to play really, really well down the stretch of this year. Don't look now, but Alabama might be maybe just as good as they were last year. I mean, minus the Bryce Young of it all, obviously. But they are really, really playing well right now. And there's not really a team left on the schedule that will probably challenge them until they get to the SEC championship. Who would have thought with how this season started between the loss to Texas and benching Jalen Milroe for the USF game and how badly they played in that game? Who would have thought after that start that they would be beating LSU 42-28, putting up that many points? Jalen Milroe playing out of his mind the way he has. Boy, this is going to be a treat of an SEC championship this year, man. It's same teams as usual, but different faces, and I love to see that, if nothing else. If it's not going to be the same team, if it's going to be the same teams, might as well be different players that contribute big on both of those teams. We keep it moving from there. Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Ole Miss basically just snuck one out. Jackson Dart had a fantastic game in this one, 387, 2 touchdowns. Quinshawn Judkins got 3 touchdowns on the ground as well. Trey Harris, 213 yards, 1 touchdown receiving. I mean, just another great offensive day for Ole Miss. They almost coughed it up on the defensive, and make no mistake about it. Let Max Johnson throw for 300 on him. Amari, I mean, as a team, Texas A&M ran for 152 and 3 scores. Even with the quarterback rushing stats for a guy that's a pocket passer, so you're going to lose out on a lot of that rushing individual stats there. He still averaged 4.2 yards per carry and got 3 touchdowns on the day. They came danger close to coughing this one up, did Ole Miss. That being said, I am more sure than ever that Ole Miss is going to win by 50 against Mississippi State. And I'm simply not looking forward to it. Just not looking forward to it. I'd like to dwell on that as little as possible. Already, especially with the remaining schedule for Alabama, Ole Miss is going to be just outside of the SEC championship race once again. It looks like, I mean, we're going to have to see what they have down the stretch here. They play Georgia this week at Georgia. That's going to be another big-time test for Georgia to once again prove that they are the best team in the nation, and I think Georgia probably ends up doing that, but Ole Miss probably keeps it close. That's going to be a really good game this week, I think. But after that, they got UL Monroe and then at Mississippi State, which I'm currently preparing for pain. You don't got to tell me twice. I'm preparing for pain right now. Only chance in hell that we have is that Ole Miss will be on short rest after playing UL Monroe. That being said, the second half of that UL Monroe game, I would imagine, is going to be a lot of rest anyways. So what does short rest even mean? I don't know. Mississippi State's going to lose by 50, though, and I'm just going to be just pissed drunk. No two ways about it, man. There's only one way I'm going to get through that game, and it's going to be copious amounts of alcohol and flipping back and forth between the Thursday night game and the NFL. That's all we can do, though, as Mississippi State fans. Maybe the long-running nightmare will be over here at the end of the season. One can only hope, right? One can only hope. Moving on from there, Penn State beat Maryland 51-15. Good tune-up game going into this big-time Michigan matchup this upcoming week. Nothing to see here, though. We move on. Also, Drew Aller, 4 touchdowns in this game, probably his best game of the season. Good time to have it, again, as they are ramping up for that Michigan game this coming week. Louisville. Hand up, man. I was wrong about Louisville coming in, man. They got a cupcake schedule. I wasn't wrong about that. I didn't think Louisville was going to be as good as they are this year, man. Jeff Brom has done one hell of a job at Louisville. They beat Virginia Tech this week, 34-3. They continue rolling. They're 8-1 on the season, 13 in the last college football playoff rankings. And they did nothing to dissuade a move up even at this point. I mean, maybe they don't. It was Virginia Tech, so not really a whole lot proven there. But again, hats off to Jeff Brom, man. He is doing everything in his power to get Louisville to that top upper echelon of the ACC. Probably ACC title game bound, and they're going to have every opportunity to go in there against most likely Florida State and show what they're really made of. That's going to be... I still think Florida State probably ends up winning by double digits in that game, but Louisville's going to have that opportunity to go in there and see if they can make something happen in the ACC championship. They're better than I thought they were. Again, credit where credit is due. They're better than I thought they were. How about a team that's worse than I thought they were? Notre Dame goes into Clemson. Sam Hartman's bad. I don't know what the hell happened. He started the season so well. Probably helps when you're playing the teams like Navy and bumfuck State. Turns out once you get into the meat of the schedule, you're playing good defenses. You don't necessarily look so good. And Sam Hartman, I mean, nothing, no comments on his looks. Obviously, he is a gorgeous, gorgeous human being. There's no denying that for sure. But as far as his quarterback play, his looks are better than his quarterback play is. I'll just put it that way. He has not been very good. He's probably hurt his draft stock more than just about anyone this year, and especially in a very quarterback-heavy draft. Sam Hartman might drop way into the later portions of the draft, looking at backup quarterback territory at the next level after this season at Notre Dame. And I still think Marcus Freeman's got them going in the right direction. He's able to recruit very well. He's able to utilize the NIL in a way that really Brian Kelly was not able to do when he was there. Got to get the offensive coordinator right a little bit. I think they might have to make a little bit of structural changes there in Notre Dame as far as who's calling the plays, what the offense is over there. You don't want to get too overboard with overturning offensive coordinator year after year after year, but you got Tommy Rees stolen from him last year. Maybe this coming year you decide to make a little change there instead of hiring from within. Have to see what they do. Either way, though, 7-3, they're not a bad team. They just go into Clemson. They lose 31-23. Dabo asking, I want to see where Tyler from Spartanburg is right now, a la Ryan Day. Didn't actually say that, but I mean, this is just Dabo. This was the game that Dabo needed to just cement him in his position. He ain't never going to change. They're going to be at best like 8-4 from here until the end of time, I would imagine. But he's won 2 national championships, folks, and he's got Clemson better than they have ever had any right to be. He'll be at Clemson till the day he dies. I have no question in my mind, quite frankly. I thought maybe Clemson would go towards firing him. I've now come around to, if they fire him, that would be a mistake. He's brought them to such heights that they've never been to before and might never be at again, especially with Dabo kind of having an archaic look at how to run a program. I mean, it's not... it's something that you wish that he would utilize, especially that being the transfer portal and NIL. Don't see him doing it, though, and even so, he's still a good enough coach to get you 7-8 wins basically every year, get you bowl eligible every time out there. This might just be your life now, Clemson fans. Sorry about that. I mean, hey, this was a good win, though. This is a good win over Notre Dame. We'll move on from there. Colorado. They have really fallen apart after that hot start, haven't they? Oregon State comes in on the road, gets a win over them, 26-19. Weird final score there, but is what it is. Really, the weirdness came from Colorado over the course of this week, as Deion Sanders, really inexplicably in my mind, took the play calling duties away from Sean Lewis, the former Kent State head coach, current offensive coordinator from Colorado. Took the play calling duties away from him, gave him to longtime NFLer Pat Shurmur, and the offense really did not look good under Shurmur this past week. Really didn't put up any points until the fourth quarter and kind of padded the stats a little bit. It was not as close as the score made it look. The final score made it look. Might have been a 7-point spread in the final score, but Oregon State kind of dominated this game, quite frankly. And still, Colorado has already outperformed many expectations for this year. I will say, though, we've never really seen Deion Sanders at a college level face wholesale adversity, right? We've never seen him have bad teams at the college level. When he was with Jackson State, he had them on the cusp of FCS championships every single year. He just had them clicking on all cylinders. And then he goes to Colorado. It's just a rapid ascension. And in that time, he's never really had a season where he had to go through struggles. I may have like undervalued the possibility that maybe he has not handled a whole lot of adversity, and how does he respond to that adversity? So far, he stripped the play calling duties from his all-star offensive coordinator, who should be a head coaching candidate, a guy that, quite frankly, I would like to be the head coach at Mississippi State if we have the opportunity to get him. A guy that I would be more than happy to fork over a big-time contract to. But Deion Sanders stripped the play calling duties from him and gave it to a kind of a washed-up NFL guy. Pat Shurmur's not a guy that you want calling plays in the NFL anymore. I probably wouldn't want him calling plays in college, for that matter, either. Just a weird sort of week over there, and that might be something we have to follow a little bit, how Deion Sanders continues to respond to adversity. So far, not passing the test, quite frankly. That was an inexplicable sort of situation there. Got some stuff to figure out. We'll probably find out more as the season goes on, because the pain is not going to stop here, man. I'm not sure there's a win left on their schedule. I mean, we'll go through it right now. Arizona, they'll lose that one. Washington State, maybe they get a win. Maybe they don't. It's on the road, though, so that's going to be a tough one up there in, was Pullman? Yeah, Pullman, Washington. And then they got Utah. The only one that they have a snowball's chance in hell of winning, I would say, is Washington State. And they're going to lose probably against Arizona and Utah, if I had to say. Still, 4-8 is probably right in my realm of what I would call a success for this season. But with the way that Deion Sanders has reacted to the 5 of 6 sort of losing skid that they're on, it doesn't really engender a whole lot of confidence for how he responds to adversity, quite frankly. Like I said, this just one of those things you got to follow, not necessarily good, or, I mean, certainly hasn't been good, and maybe it's something that Deion Sanders will learn from, but also maybe not. He's got to this point by being brash and confident. Who's to say that he won't just stick to his guns and continue making these sorts of decisions? Again, something to monitor, but at this point, Colorado 4-5, we don't need to spend a whole lot of brain power on them. Oregon State, by the way, still frisky. They still got Oregon at the end of the season in that rivalry game. They still play Washington. They play Stanford this upcoming week to get a little bit of a tune-up before they get Washington at home. But, I mean, they have the opportunity here. If they somehow beat Washington and somehow beat Oregon as well, they could very easily find themselves in the Pac-12 title game, and at that point, they would have knocked the Pac-12 out of the playoff, quite frankly, which would pave the path for a team like an Alabama to make it in there, or a Michigan and an Ohio State to make it in. If it's an all Big Ten and SEC Final Four, boy, is that going to lend a whole lot of credence to the people that want the 12-team playoff, but. And that's not for me. That's not for me to pontificate on anymore. Oregon State can make things very chaotic down the stretch, though. Watch them over the next couple weeks. They got to take care of business versus Stanford, but that Washington-Oregon back-to-back, they could really make some waves there if they get a win in one or both of those games. Something to monitor as we get down to the end of this season. Tennessee beat UConn by about 1 million, 59-3. Don't need to stick with that one. Utah did the same to Arizona State, 55-3. The pig farmer, Bryson Barnes, had 4 touchdowns. Good for him, I suppose. Arizona. I mean, Jed Fish has got the Wildcats humming right now. 27-10 over UCLA. A really solid UCLA team. One of the best defenses in the entire conference, and they just thumped them. I mean, Noah Fafita, the true freshman quarterback, had 3 touchdowns and an interception. He's playing really, really well. Just absolutely snatched the job from Jaden DeLora this season. I mean, you can't help but be impressed with what Arizona has done there. And Arizona's not done yet, man. They've got, like I said, Colorado this coming week. Excuse me. They've got Utah after that, and then Arizona State. Probably not going to be a Pac-12 title contender. They're probably a little too far out of it. 4-2 in the conference right now, but very easily down the stretch. I mean, all 3 of these final games that they got are winnable. They could end up with 9 wins. I think they should end up with 8 wins. Very real possibility they end up with 9. Jed Fish, you can't say enough about what a job he has done with the Arizona Wildcats. Hope for their sake that they're able to keep him through the course of this offseason, through this hiring cycle. You gotta love what they've done, though. I mean, they had a stretch earlier in this year where, I mean, Washington and USC they lose to, but then they get Washington State, they absolutely run out of the building. Oregon State they win against, and then UCLA they just beat. That's 5 straight ranked matchups that they had, and they end up 3-2 through that stretch. And that was the meat of their schedule right there. They should, like I said, they should be able to win at least 2 of their next 3, maybe 3 of their next 3 to end the season. Again, I cannot say enough about the job that Jedd Fisch has done there with the Arizona Wildcats. He has been one of the best coaches in the nation since he got there, and people just don't talk about him enough, quite frankly. Arizona is firing on all cylinders right now, and especially since they got the quarterback situation filled out, they seem to get better every single week of the year. They're just fun to watch. They're fun to watch, quite frankly. UCLA, Dante Moore, just keep on taking these lumps, man. Take them now. He's going to be a monster at some point, especially in that Chip Kelly offense. He's going to be a monster, make no mistake about it. You just got to take these lumps now. It is what it is. No worries, folks. No worries. What do we got here now? Who's up next? Yes, Kansas takes care of business versus Iowa State. They win 28-21 on the road in Ames. No mean feat there. Make no mistake about it. And they really dominated this game. Iowa State kind of gave them a scare late. Matt Campbell had the boys humming in the second half, but ultimately Kansas did just enough to win this one, and they're now 7-2. I mean, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again now. Lance Leipold, you can't help but be impressed with what he's done at Kansas. For my money, he should be the Mississippi State head coach next year. I would love to have Lance Leipold as my head coach next year. Quite frankly, he has done the impossible. I mean, people that are just tuning into college football now, maybe they don't realize the history of Kansas football, but let's just say it has not been as bright and shining as the basketball program for Kansas. Kansas football has been a doormat for the better part of several decades, several decades, with the exception of a few pop-ups there with, I think it was 07 and 08, they were solid in both of those years. They've been a 2-win football team every single year for decades now. And all Lance Leipold has done the first 2 years is he went 6-6 in the first season. He's now 7-2 in the second season at Kansas. At Kansas, of all places. He has done an impossible task and done it better than just about anyone else in the country could have. I would be absolutely shocked if Lance Leipold is the Kansas head coach after this season, but enjoy this while it lasts, man, because you got a really solid team there, and it's going to be a fun end to the season. You're probably going to get a solid bowl game as well. Just enjoy this while it lasts, because it's not going to last forever, but it's awesome to see what's happening right now at Kansas. You love to see them at the level they're at now, ranked and due to move up in the rankings with this win over Iowa State on the road. Impressive fashion. Again, winning in Ames, no mean feat. I don't say that facetiously either. It is a tough environment to go into and win, and Kansas did it, man. Hats off to them. Tulane, they're 8-1 now. They escaped with a win over East Carolina, 13-10. Gross, but a win is a win at the end of the day. And really, underrated shocker of the week, Army went into Air Force, who was undefeated, 8-0 to start the season. Army 3-6, and Army gets the win 23-3. Just dominated Air Force. Daly, the quarterback for Army, had 170 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. When service academies get together, you never know, man. Hey, air superiority might win you wars, but you also can't win wars without the guys on the ground either, and Army showed you that, and they dominated this game, man. What more is there to say? They get the win 23-3, and nothing short of impressive. Why do people keep texting me right now? Why do people keep texting me? Oh, yes. Someone asking me to go play Call of Duty. Simply not going to happen before the Monday Night Football game. Just not in the cards right now. I got too much stuff going on. By too much stuff going on, I mean talking into a computer. That's what I got going on right now. And then editing it afterwards. What are we talking about right now? Let's go through some of the unranked matchups. We'll look through the ACC. First off, Boston College won us some money on Friday night. Thank you very much. 17-10, the final score there. They're 6-3 now. Bowl eligible. Really outperformed their expectations coming into the year. So credit to Boston College for being better than I really thought that they would be, and really winning us some money this week. That's all I can really say about that. Outside of that, North Carolina beat the shit out of Campbell. Not noteworthy there. NC State beat the dog shit out of Miami. Tyler Van Dyke had 3 interceptions. Miami is now 6-3. Still trending in the right direction. Just certainly a year ahead, or a year before what the end goal is. Year 3 always was the final goal there. Obviously, you're not going to have Tyler Van Dyke next season, but as long as the recruiting pipeline is as good as Mario Cristobal has had it there, eventually they're going to be right in the upper echelons, not just of the ACC, but of college football if he continues to do what he has done on the recruiting trail there. It's only a matter of time. This is a tough win, or a tough loss to take and a tough loss to swallow, but they'll be back. I guarantee they will be back at some point here in the near future. This is just not their year. They were a year ahead of schedule, quite frankly. We move on, though. What else happened? That's the ACC for you. Big 12? Any non-ranked matchups that are worth talking about? I mean, Texas Tech beat TCU. Cool. That's a match of 4 and 5 teams right there, so I don't want to belabor that one. Houston just barely escaped in OT versus Baylor. Baylor drops to 3 and 6. Again, good for them. And West Virginia becomes the latest team to beat up on BYU. They're now 6-3 after a 37-7 win over BYU. Keaton Slovis still not back in the lineup there, I believe, for BYU, which does not help at all. And hey, credit to Neil Brown, man. Did more than save his job, just gave himself some job security this year after all the hardships that he's been through at West Virginia. Maybe they can get that thing going there over the next couple of years, especially with Texas and Oklahoma no longer being in the conference. Someone's going to step up. Why not West Virginia? Why not West Virginia, man? That's the Big 12 for you. Big 10? Not really a whole lot going on here, I don't think. Indiana beat Wisconsin, and you want to talk about a team that just keeps on losing, cannot find a win to save their lives. Wisconsin, now 5-4 on the season. That was Indiana's first Big Ten win of the season as well. Wisconsin's just in free fall mode right now, folks. They got some wholesale restructuring to do. They got the right guys in there to do it in Luke Fickell and Phil Longo at offensive coordinator, but you can't just ask them to go day and night in year one and just expect nonstop success out of the gates. They got some good pieces in there, but they're still a year away, I would say, from really starting to ratchet things up. Probably a year away after that, too. They've got some restructuring to do down there in Camp Randall. Michigan State beat Nebraska. Didn't see this one coming. Nebraska was playing very, very well, and Michigan State was in free fall mode. But credit to Michigan State, they stopped the bleeding. They get a win here, 20-17 over Nebraska. Nebraska still could end up at 8-4 on the season, though, man. I mean, take a look at their schedule down the stretch. They got Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa, all 3 winnable games. No guarantee they win any of those, especially going into Camp Randall at Wisconsin in 2 weeks. But still got everything they want ahead of them. And really, with how the season started, you got to be tickled to death after, I mean, starting 0-2 the way that they started, going 5-2 in their next 7. You can't be too unhappy with that. I think year 1 of Matt Rule, this is even better than really you could have hoped for, quite frankly. I mean, Nebraska was dead in the water last year. Didn't have high expectations for this year because Matt Rule never really wins a whole lot in year 1. He will get this program rolling, make no mistake about it, and he's already got them improving week after week. This was just a hiccup. They'll be all right. They'll bounce back, I think. Illinois gets a win over Minnesota, 27-26. There you go. That's the final score there. And the lowest over-under of all time, Iowa at Northwestern, playing it at Wrigley Field. And what do you think they did? They hit the under, folks. 10-7 the final score. Iowa gets the win over Northwestern. And in this upcoming week, they have another game with the over-under set at 29.5. The hilarity just continues. At least Brian Ferentz isn't the offensive coordinator anymore after the season, I suppose. Iowa fans can take solace in that. Just the most depressing 7-2 team in all of the land right now. It is hilarious that they keep finding ways to win games. But hey, the gravy train keeps rolling, baby. They could still end up winning the Big Ten West when it's all said and done, which is hilarious to say with how inept their offense is. They get the win over Northwestern this week, though, 10-7. My nose be itchy. I'll tell you what, my nose be itchy. Pac-12, are there really any unranked matchups this week in Pac-12? Oh yeah, Stanford beat Washington State, which, boy, you want to talk about a team that fell off a cliff. Washington State went from beating Oregon State to just imploding, shitting their pants down the stretch of this season. They've now lost 5 straight after starting the season 4-0. After that Oregon State win, it's just been all downhill from there. I mean, they got blown out by Arizona. Now they're losing to Stanford. Just a tough season for Washington State, and it's starting to look a little bit dire as far as their search for a new conference. It's going to be the Pac-2 right now. Who knows what happens to Oregon State and Washington State? It's not looking great, though. It's not looking great, and this is not going to make things any better for you. Washington State has now lost 5 in a row. The SEC, well, first and foremost, Arkansas went on the road and beat Florida. Lost us some money there. I thought Florida was going to, show an ounce of life at home. They didn't. Arkansas goes on the road and wins. Florida, you're just perpetually in no man's land. I do think, if the Florida fans are rational, which is, one of the biggest ifs in all of the world, they'll probably keep Billy Napier through this season. Next season is the one to watch. They've got another dynamic recruiting class coming in. They've still got, building to year 3 is what you do in college football, quite frankly, and that's, if he doesn't do it next year, probably fired. This year, there's every opportunity he'll be fired anyways because the Florida fans and the Florida boosters are insane people, but I would still probably keep him 1 year to see what's going on. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Billy Napier, quite frankly. I don't know how good of a coach he is, but he's improved from year 1, which is really all you can ask for at this point. Probably just shouldn't have fired Dan Mullen. Just a thought. Probably just shouldn't have fired Dan Mullen, but you can't go back and change that, can you? South Carolina beat Jacksonville State. Nothing to see here. They're 3-6 now. Auburn beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is 2-8, and I would like to give you the weekly reminder that they were picked 4th most likely to win the conference to start the year because the SEC media is a bunch of sheep that live in Nashville. Keeping it moving from there, and cue the depression. Kentucky goes on the road, beats Mississippi State 24-3. Do we need to see any more this season? The Zach Arnett experience, I said it all last week. It was worth a try. He had some promise at defensive coordinator. He ain't it, though. And we just lost a big-time wide receiver recruit, 4-star wide receiver, Stonka Burnside. Starkville High School wide receiver, too, by the way. Just decommitted. You gotta stop the bleeding. You just gotta stop the bleeding. And the only way to do that is to clean house, quite frankly, and bring in a head coach with some degree of pedigree into that program. It's clear what needs to happen. We just got to have Zach Selman pull the trigger at this point. I don't think he's going to do it before the end of the season, but there's only one decision to make, and that is to clean house after year 1. It's been week after week, just shit week after shit week. No improvement whatsoever on either side of the ball. We've seen all we need to see, quite frankly, and I'll just leave it at that. That was your Week 10 recap, though. What are we doing on time? How are we doing on time right now? Hour 2? We're flying through this thing, baby. We are absolutely flying through this thing. Let's get a look at the matchups for next week, though. Week 11 in college football. Thursday, we're starting off with Virginia going to Louisville. Louisville favored by 20. Decided to stay away from that one. I do have 3 bets for you this good night of college football talk. So we'll get there when we get there. One thing at a time, but I digress on that front. The big matchup of the week is coming at noon on Fox on Saturday. Number 3 Michigan traveling to Penn State. And like I said, we are going to find out what this Michigan team is. They've not played a real game so far this year. They will on Saturday when they face off against Penn State. I am looking forward to seeing what we get from this Michigan team. They could be the best team in the country. We just don't really know yet because they played such a cupcake schedule. They got everything swirling around that program. You just got to play for this year and worry about what happens afterwards when it comes time to worry about it. Right now, you got a great team. And you got the biggest test of the season thus far staring right down the barrel at you this coming week. It is going to be a dandy of a matchup, and Penn State can get themselves right back in this thing if they get a win over Michigan. A lot on the line for both of these teams on both sides of the field. Alabama's traveling to Kentucky. Should get a win there, but you never know, man. I mean, Kentucky just got a get-right game against Mississippi State, so maybe they ride that momentum and keep it close with Alabama. We'll have to see how it goes. I've got some faith in Alabama to win this one, though. Texas Tech going on the road to Kansas. Kansas favored by 3.5 right now. Might end up being a bet when it's all said and done. I got to go back and get another good look at the slates that is going to be, but I like Kansas in that one. They're coming off a big win on the road versus Iowa State, but Texas Tech has not been very good this year. I like Kansas in that one. Tulane hosting Tulsa. Who cares? Kansas State hosting Baylor. That's a get-right game right there. I mean, Baylor, prepare for pain. Again, just prepare for pain. It's going to be a long day for y'all, I think. I think Kansas State's going to win that one by about 1 million, and the Vegas line says it all. It's 20.5 right now in favor of Kansas State, and I think that line might be right. Miami is going to Florida State this week. Florida State favored by 14.5. I think that's a fairly appropriate line. I'll probably stay away from that one. I think Florida State wins. Got no great feel on the spread whatsoever, so we'll just keep it moving from there. Utah going on the road to Washington. I think Utah is a team that could end up giving Washington a few fits in this one. I don't know. The Washington defense is a little bit suspect. The Utah offense hasn't been world beaters this year. Haven't been able to move the ball very consistently, but that Washington defense is going to give them plenty of opportunities to do so. And Washington offensively, this will be one of the toughest defenses they've faced this year outside of definitely Oregon. Utah is definitely the second best defense they've faced all year, so that could be interesting. Washington favored by 8.5. I'll probably end up staying away from that one when it comes time to bet on things. Tennessee going on the road to Missouri this week. That's another big matchup in the SEC. Tennessee favored by 1 on the road, which doesn't seem right. I think Missouri's probably ultimately a better team. I think they got a better offense. Maybe the defense isn't quite as good, which is where the difference comes from. Not sure I'll bet this one, but I lean Missouri. I feel like Missouri is going to pull this one out when it's all said and done. Oklahoma State, dangerous situation going on their road to UCF. UCF, a team that can put up points in a hurry if you let them. This feels like a Gus Bus spot to maybe get a win, just pull one straight out of their ass. Oklahoma State has got to take care of business in this one. Coming off a big win, very much a letdown spot if they let it be. Oklahoma State favored by 2.5. Vegas is all over that one. I think there's a good chance that UCF wins this, but Oklahoma State should take care of business. Should being the operative word there. In the Pac-12, Stanford is visiting Oregon State. Oregon State favored by 21 in this game. I don't really care, quite frankly. Oregon State should win, but Stanford has been feisty, so we'll see. Ole Miss going on the road to Georgia. Probably the biggest game in the night slate this coming week. Georgia, another big test. Another one that can prove that they are the best team in the country, and I think they're going to do it. I don't know if they end up covering that 10.5, but I think they end up winning, and I think they end up doing so in impressive fashion. Carson Beck, I think, has a big game in this one. I think that Ole Miss defense is just suspect enough for Georgia's offense to feast in spots. I like Georgia in this one. West Virginia going on the road to Oklahoma, and this is one where Oklahoma could wilt. I mean, if they're a well-coached team, if Brent Venables is a good coach, I think Oklahoma gets back on the horse and continues to kind of play with the hopes that they can kind of sneak their way into the Big 12 championship. But I would not be shocked at all if Oklahoma just came out and said, all right, you know what, our dreams are over. Could be another letdown spot for them. They're favored by 13. I could very easily see West Virginia ending up winning that one, though. Sneaky spot with West Virginia on the road, playing very, very well this season. Oklahoma coming off of a tough emotional loss against Oklahoma State. One to keep an eye on that late slot. Michigan State traveling to Ohio State. Ohio State should win by 1,000,000, quite frankly. I'm not betting on that one because the line is 31.5, and I hate betting large lines like that, but Ohio State should win this one emphatically. I'll just leave it at that. Texas going on the road to TCU, favored by 10. Probably should cover. I'm probably going to stay away from this one, though, because you never know. I mean, Malik Murphy probably starts again. Maybe you get Quinn Ewers in this one. Maybe it's Malik Murphy. I got no idea. There's enough uncertainty there for me to stay away, though, quite frankly. Florida going on the road to LSU. LSU favored by 14. The health of Jaden Daniels is a big question mark here. Probably the big determinant on how this game goes, quite frankly. I think if Nussmeier's in the game, you're going to see that line move precipitously in Florida's direction, and it's going to be a much closer contest. That being said, Florida's not a good road team at all, and Death Valley lives up to its name every single time. It is one of the most hostile environments in all of college football. I like LSU to win, maybe even cover in this one. I'm probably staying away from it, though, quite frankly. UCLA hosting Arizona State. Bad Arizona State team. UCLA is favored by 16.5. I'll probably stay away from that one. UCLA should win that one with ease, though. USC going on the road to Oregon. Over-under is 73.5. I'm tempted to take that over-under. I might end up adding it to my bet slip when it's all said and done. I'm staying away from now, though. It's one I'm going to keep an eye on, one I'm going to reconsider on Wednesday when I'm prepping for the Thursday episode of Unqualified Analysis with all the picks. But for right now, staying away from that one. I think it's going to be, maybe not a shootout. I think Oregon ultimately ends up pulling away. It's minus 16.5 for a reason. But I could see USC putting up a lot of points because they got that dude, Caleb Williams, at the end of the day. And Air Force is playing Hawaii. They won't be ranked for much longer. So, yeah, good for them, I suppose. Outside of that, see if there's any notable games throughout the conference slate here. Clemson hosting Georgia Tech. Matchup of 5 and 4 teams. I didn't know Georgia Tech was 5 and 4. Quite frankly, hey, shout out to them. 4 and 2 ACC record as opposed to Clemson's 2 and 4. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it coming into the year? Outside of that, you got North Carolina hosting Duke. That could be an interesting one. Riley Leonard probably not going to play once again, though. He's all sorts of banged up, so I would imagine, North Carolina's favored by 12.5. I'll probably stay away from that one as well. Big 12. Houston hosting Cincinnati. Who cares? Iowa State going to BYU. Iowa State favored by 6.5. I don't know. I don't know, man. Let's look at the Big Ten a little bit. Indiana, Illinois, once again, who cares? Maryland, Nebraska. Might be one where I bet on Nebraska. Maryland's favored by 2.5 right now. I would lean Nebraska on that one, quite frankly. We might be seeing that again. Rutgers at Iowa. This is one of my bets this week. I got Iowa -2. I just think they're a better team than Rutgers, especially at home. It's not going to be pretty by any stretch of the imagination. The over-under is now a new record at 28.5 on the over-under. I would still probably lean the under. I don't think there's probably not an over-under I would look at and not just lean the under with Iowa every single time. But I'm taking the spread. I think Iowa finds a way to win this one. I got them at -2. That is one of my picks this week. Minnesota, Purdue, who cares? Northwestern, Wisconsin, also, who cares? All right, Pac-12. Arizona, Colorado. I want to say this is one of my bets. Give me a second. I gotta look at this one. I know I definitely had Iowa. So there's that. Oh yes, Arizona. This line has moved since I got this bet in. It's now at Arizona -11. I got it at Arizona -9.5 at Colorado. I think they win. I think they win emphatically. Colorado's just in free fall mode. Arizona's in ascension mode. I like the Wildcats here in this one. Like I said, Jed Fish playing out of his mind, or coaching out of his mind right now with the Arizona Wildcats. Washington State and Cal, that's a pick 'em right now. I don't really have a lean either way. Those are just two kind of sad teams. And that'll do it for the Pac-12. What do we got in the SEC? What do we have in the SEC? Vandy, South Carolina, another who cares sort of game. Auburn going to Arkansas. Arkansas favored by 3. not very good teams there. Mississippi State going on the road to Texas A&M. Texas A&M favored by 17.5. They should cover. Yep, Mississippi State stinks. So yeah, I've said my piece on that one. You already know my stance, so we'll keep it moving from there. And that does it for your preview for next week as well. And with that, I got one more bet for you. Also taking the Lions minus 1.5 at the Chargers. I just think that line is wrong. I don't know why. I don't know why the Lions aren't favored by more, quite frankly. I think there will probably be more Lions fans than Chargers fans in that stadium, and the Lions have been one of the best spread teams in the entire NFL, really, not just this year, since Dan Campbell got there. So yeah, Lions minus 1.5. I think they win that one. I think they win that one emphatically. So yeah, I'm adding that one to the slip as well. So my early bets that I'll probably add even more to in the next episode. I got Iowa minus 2 at home versus Rutgers. Arizona minus 9.5 at Colorado, and the Lions minus 1.5 at the Chargers. 4-4 week last week for America's most average gambler. Let's hope for at least a winning record this time around. With that, though, that's it, folks. That is all. Thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. If you enjoyed, go ahead, subscribe. All of the platforms, be it Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, whatever the hell you listen to this on, go ahead, hit subscribe. Share it with somebody to help me grow this damn thing a little bit more. We're growing slowly but surely. We're inching up there every single day. We just surpassed 1,000 all-time listens. Clap it up. Clap it up. That's right. We got 1,000 listens lifetime. Thanks to you people for continuing to listen. Very much appreciate that. Very, very much appreciate that. But yeah, if you want to contact the show, either shoot me a DM at Caleb Verzak on Twitter, X, whatever the hell that damn stupid app is called. Link will be in the description if you want to go follow me there as well. Or if you just want to go the old-fashioned route with the email, unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That will also be in the description, so you just do a quick copy-paste job if and you want to contact the show. Outside of that, thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I have got literally no clue what I'm talking about. I'm just a big dumb dipshit sometimes. That being said, one thing I learned this week, what else? Ah, yes. In 2007, an original copy of the Magna Carta sold at auction for $21.3 million. That is the highest price in history for a single piece of text, or a single page of text. So there you go. There's your fun fact for the week. I will see y'all on Thursday with NFL stuff to talk about. See y'all.